Hello, my lords and ladies, and welcome to another episode of our Warhammer Darkwater series, where today we are painting Drolf Ironheaad. What a name that is! That is awesome. These are one of the miniatures that I cannot wait to get onto the table and to see how it plays. So I'm super excited for that. Anyways, first off, I want to say thank you to all my YouTube members. You guys are absolutely amazing. If you're new to the channel or you are a subscriber, thank you for subscribing. Or if you're not, hit that subscribe button. Fairly easy. Let's jump into it. But without further ado, let's go. All right, the first thing you're going to do is obviously build your miniature. I then put some Stirland Mud down and then did an airbrush of white for this miniature. If you want to use rattle cans, you can. I just feel like airbrushing is a much better way to prime a miniature. The face, Gulliman Flesh, pretty simple. For the beard, we are going to be using some Griff Hound Orange. Try not to get it on any of the skin. For the middle portion of our beard on Drolf, we are going to use some Cygor Brown. Just pick out some hairs in there and throw them down. It doesn't really matter how many you do. I just don't do the whole beard. Obviously, he's got a red beard with some brown tint to it. For the handles on the two axes, we're going to be using some Flesh Terrors Red. Now, for a vast majority of all of his robes, we're going to be doing some Spacewolf Grey. Now, this is a very light color, obviously. Don't worry, we're going to go over with a second color in certain areas here in a little bit. All right, for the backpack, the gloves, and then the pouch on the side of Drolf, we're going to be using some Wildwood. Now, Wildwood has a tendency to really splotch and kind of not go on so smooth, so you can mix this with some Lahmiem Medium. We're going to clean it up here later in the video, as you'll see, but go over those three areas. Should be 3 shots in this color. For the rope on the side, we're going to use some Snakebite Leather, one of those contrast paints that go on perfectly with white to make a beautiful looking rope. For the other areas that are around his drab, I guess you could say, we're going to use some Seraphim Sepia. Very easy wash to put on. It's great for parchment. It's great for light rope. It's great for light colored shirts or really anything that you don't want to overpower on top of white. All right, for the boots, we're going to be using some Black Legion, and there's also a small portion on the center area of his chest slash stomach that needs to be painted in Black Legion. All right, we're going to go back to that Snakebite Leather. This is one of the problems when you're jumping around. It kind of, yeah, you forget certain places for certain colors. That's why I keep all my paints out and move along with that. So for the wooden portions of the gun on the back, I'm assuming that's what that is. And then the front, we're going to use some Snakebite Leather. We're going to go back to the Cygor Brown, like I had just said. Going back to a different color. On the ropes, we're going to be using some Cygor Brown. For the hatchet cover or sheath, we're going to use some Rattling Grime. And then for the top portion of where we did the Seraphim Sepia around his head on the hood, we're going to use some Aggaros Earthshade. All right, lots to paint with the Lead Belcher. The first one being the axe, obviously, and then there's a bunch of areas on that gun. Now there's several shots of this right here, so I do show you everything that you need to paint, so please just follow along. All right, last but not least, the Retributor Armour on the bottom of the axe handles, the middle portion of the top of the axe, the middle portion of the buckle on our dwarf as well. I think that is it. The little symbol that's on the buckle in the middle of his stomach. All right, a couple areas with the Nulin Oil. We only got 3 washes we're going to do. Obviously, all of our metallics, our lead belcher metallics, are going to be in lead belcher. Not lead belcher, in Nulin Oil. You know what I meant. All right, we're going to darken up a portion that we did in the Spacewolf Grey. Now, there's only the top portion of the hood, the shoulders. We are not doing our arm areas, and we're just doing that little portion that's coming down from the crotch region, if you know what I mean. And the last wash we're going to do is we're going to make our own. It's going to be Fyreslayer Flesh and Lahmiem Medium, 50-50 mix. Then we're putting that on all of our gold areas. All right, for our face, we are going to do some Cadian Flshtone and then Kislev Flesh after that. The eyes are super hard to get. Please be careful. I did a little bit of white in there and just a tiny bit of black. They're super hard to see and they're very, very small. So take your time on them if you can. All right, for the backpack and the leather pouch and everything else we did with wildwood, we're going to use some Mournfang Brown mixed with a lot of water. So this is going to be a very watery consistency, and we're basically just building it up. If you would like to use Lahmiem Medium, a 50-50 mix, that would also be a very good choice, as you can build up the highlights on whatever you would like. So I'm just going through, putting a layer on, letting it dry, doing it again, and I probably put about 3 to 4 layers on every area. Not getting anything into the recesses, just the raised areas, and I'm building up all those highlights on the backpack specifically and everything else that we did with the wildwood. All right, for the beard, I'm just picking out some of the strands and doing some Jokaero Orange. You can do a little bit more, some Lugnanth Orange if you would like, which is a more white orange. Give you some more highlights, but I just did the one and moved on. To highlight up the brown portion of the mustache and the beard, I'm just picking out a couple hairs and doing some Karak Stone, and then I'm also doing this a little bit onto the gloves. So more or less just like the knuckles, the raised areas, and whatnot. All right, to pick out our bright blue areas, I'm just going to take some Thunderhawk Blue, and I'm really just getting everything that is on the raised areas and everything in the recesses. I am staying as is. I did about 2 layers of this Thunderhawk Blue on that, just to kind of give it some more brightness. Finishing up on the blue areas we just did, we're going to do some Fenrisian Grey, and we're going to use this very sparingly, just doing out of several raised areas, and then some of the kind of indentations or the top portions of certain areas that are kind of cut open. As if you're looking on the back of the miniature, there's like a little crease in there that we're just kind of painting around. For the cufflings around the arms and the boots, we're just going to be doing a little bit of Ushabti Bone. Try not to overdo this. I think I did overdo it a little bit. So you could do probably be better just to do a little bit of edging. So just on the edge on both sides and you should be fine. All right, for all of our metallics, we're going to be doing some Runefang Steel. Now, I'm only doing the Runefang Steel on a portion of that axe head that would be considered like the blade edge of it, like a normal axe. And then I'm doing it on all the gun areas and anything else that we painted in silver, like the buckle that is on his stomach. For all of the metallics on the gold areas, we're going to go over with some Liberator Gold. Pretty simple there. And then moving on to the base. I am doing mine in Aggaros Dunes. Again, you can do whatever you would like. And painting that dirt mud area. The rock that Drolf is standing on is going to be painted in Nulin Oil. And then as you'll see in the next shot, I will paint that grass sticking up with some Militarium Green. Finally, for the rim of the base, we are going to be doing it in Abaddon Black, because it's your favorite part of the miniature. It means you're done. And that's it. That's all she wrote right there. Nothing too crazy, nothing out of control. Kind of a pain. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's I enjoyed painting it, and I didn't at the same time because I thought there was too much going on. But and the eyes, I didn't like how the eyes turned out, but it is what it is. So, thank you to all my YouTube members. Thank you, all my subscribers, everyone who supports this channel, everybody who shares this, puts it on anything like Reddit or, you know, a different channel or reshares it or any of that stuff. I can't thank you guys enough. Obviously, if you watch these videos, my long-term goal is to make it to 100,000 subscribers, which I don't know if that will ever happen in my lifetime. I doubt it, but a man can dream. But we've got some more dark water coming up. We've got a bunch of dark water coming up. So yeah, stay tuned. I love you all, and I'll see you on the next one. All right, paint on.